The regularly scheduled city commission meeting for Tuesday, September the 10th, 2024. If you would, please stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Can we have a call for attendance, please?
Commissioner Pruitt,
Here.
Commissioner Witt, Commissioner Vowles,
Here.
Commissioner Thomas, Mayor Staten.
Here. First up on the agenda, I would like to invite Matt Reynolds and Brittany Smith up to the podium. And we have a presentation that we would like to make.
Brittany Smith, the Executive Director of Henderson's Habitat for Humanity and board member of Henderson's Homeless Coalition, and Matt Reynolds, Chief Operating Officer of Henderson's Habitat for Humanity and Committee Chair of the Inner City Improvement Plan Affordable Housing Committee, have been chosen as recipients of the September Community Spotlight for their hard work and dedication in serving the community of Henderson, providing housing solutions, and proposing a plan to clean up blighted properties. Habitat for Humanity of Henderson was recently announced as a winner of the Kentucky Housing Supply Accelerator Award, one of only 2 organizations recognized across the Commonwealth by the Kentucky Housing Corporation for its acceleration of construction in the housing community. Attributed to the leadership of Brittany Smith and Matt Reynolds, Habitat for Humanity of Henderson was able to recently complete its 82nd and 83rd home dedications, as together they've found innovative ways to utilize federal and grant funding, allowing them to build more homes for the community. In conjunction with the Inner City Improvement Plan Affordable Housing Committee, they proposed to their Habitat Board a plan to expedite mitigation of blighted properties in Henderson. The proposal requests joint cooperation and funding from the city and county to enable increased demolition of condemned properties, freeing up those properties for potential housing, and in the process, removing hazardous structures and cleaning up the community. Brittany, in her role with the Henderson County Homeless Coalition, with help from Matt, the numbers guy, created a proposed plan on behalf of the Homeless Coalition to aid the Patino Shelter in hiring a case manager exclusively for Henderson, whose main duties include providing comprehensive housing-focused strategy for clients, establishing service plans, and use housing-focused tools during on-site or client home visits to assist with housing stabilization. The new case manager has been hired and by all counts is doing a great job. It is anticipated that the first quarterly report will be presented in late October. Brittany and Matt, along with the rest of the Habitat for Humanity of Henderson team, have worked diligently and tirelessly in their efforts to make Henderson a home for everyone, and the City of Henderson is very grateful to them for their hard work and extends heartfelt thanks with the presentation of this September Community Spotlight Award.
Thank you.
So, as you may or may not be aware, back in July, we started a new series of awards. It's a monthly award here at the city called the Community Spotlight Award. Our intention with this Community Spotlight Award is to draw and shine a spotlight on a person or people who are doing great things in the city. And our city is starting to look different in such a positive way. And really, it's work that you all have been doing for years. But over this last year to year and a half, with all the extra work that you have done above and beyond what you do through Habitat for Humanity, it's meant a lot to us here at the city. And so we would like to present you with this Community Spotlight Award. And if you would like to say any words to the City Commission, you are more than welcome to do so.
Well, no, I mean, it's our pleasure, and we couldn't do this without the great partnerships that y'all been, the city, county, just the community of Henderson as a whole.
And the mayor did trick us too.
Yeah, he did, yeah. He told us this was, you really didn't tell us anything. He just said, you gotta be here at 3 o'clock.
He said he'd do it for 15 minutes, so we were trying to check the agenda. Like, is there something on there that
But
were
no,
part of?
we appreciate the kind words, but again, without willing partners like yourselves, it wouldn't make our jobs as easy as it is, so
And
thank
our
you.
wonderful, and we do want to thank our wonderful volunteers, staff, and board. Some of our volunteers have been with us 15, 17 years, so. we
Not
could
consecutively, though. You don't want to
Yeah.
sell a board seat. A board seat at Habitat's good, not bad.
No,
Just wanna make sure y'all know that.
Our volunteers.
Okay, I thought you said board members.
No, some of our Thursday crew
No.
members have been here before I came, and we could not do what we do without those guys and their dedication every Tuesday and Thursday. So we have a wonderful group behind us as well.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Don't worry, I already sent father-in-law.
All right, we're good. Thank you.
On to the board stuff, right?
Get to work.
All right.
All right, next up, we have a consent agenda.
Consent agenda consists of the minutes of the August 27th, 2024 regular meeting, resolution number 52-24, resolution approving human resources report dated September 10th, 2024, and municipal order 75-24, municipal order authorizing the purchase of 56 Taser 10 bundle packages, including necessary hardware, software, and product-specific instructor courts for the Henderson Police Department from Axon Enterprise Incorporated of Scottsdale, Arizona, in 5 yearly payments.
Before we take a motion, are there any items that any commissioner would like to pull for further discussion? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve, please.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Pruitt,
Aye.
Commissioner Witt, Commissioner Vowles.
Aye.
Commissioner Thomas.
Aye.
Mayor Staten.
Aye. Next up, we have the second reading of an ordinance accepting public utility improvements.
Ordinance number 40-24, ordinance accepting public improvements. Ordinance accepting public utility improvements. Potable water, sanitary sewer, and storm sewer systems for Bentley Point Phase 1 or Deer Valley Subdivision LLC being constructed at the end of Barrett Boulevard in the city of Henderson.
We have a motion to approve, please.
So moved.
Do we have a second? Any comments, questions? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Pruitt,
Aye.
Commissioner Witt, Commissioner Vowles.
Aye.
Commissioner Thomas.
Aye.
Mayor Staten.
Aye. Next up, we have the first reading of an ordinance pertaining to the levy of ad valorem taxes.
Ordinance number 41-24, ordinance providing for the levy and collection of ad valorem taxes. An ordinance of the City of Henderson, Kentucky, providing for the levy and collection of ad valorem taxes for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2024, and providing for the time of payment for such taxes, penalty, interest, and discount.
We have a motion to approve, please.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Do we have any comments or questions? I have a comment or two I'd like to make. So this represents a very small but a cut in our real and personal property taxes. Just a few things I wanted to point out is that after this cut, our property tax rates here in the city of Henderson will be lower than they've been since 2010. And since 2017, we have actually lowered our property tax rates by more than 23%, including this cut that we're making today. Any other comments or questions?
That direction.
It is. It is.
Especially in this day and time when a city can cut property, other tax. That's a
Need to do. Yep. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Pruitt,
aye.
Commissioner Witt.
Aye.
Commissioner Vowles, Commissioner Thomas.
Aye.
Mayor Staten.
Aye. Next up, we have an ordinance regarding annexation.
Ordinance number, excuse me, ordinance number 42-24, ordinance regarding annexation. An ordinance annexing certain unincorporated territory to the city of Henderson, Kentucky, located in Henderson County on the west side of U.S. Highway 60 West, and being a portion of the original right-of-way of Highway 136, now known as Dana Drive, and consisting of approximately 4.686 acres.
Do we have a motion to approve, please?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Buzzy, you want to remind us what this one is about?
I'd be glad to. If you remember, the Dana used to be Eaton Axle, came to Henderson and back in the late 70s. And they annexed into the city. However, the state highway that ran in front of Eaton Axle, which is now Dana, was abandoned when they constructed new interchange at US 60 West and the 425. And at which time the former State Road 136 was placed into the county's hands. Were approached by the Dana Corporation about the poor condition of the roadway and its impact on their employees and trucking business that delivers and hauls away their finished products. So we met with the county to come to some resolution what to do, and as y'all know, the city cannot spend funds in the county. So what we agreed to do is a partnership with the county. We agreed to take in this section of what is known as Dana Drive, formerly 136, into the city, which Marie tested is about 4.5 acres. We also agreed to split the cost to make the necessary repairs and repave Dana Drive, that work in which our Public Works Department, County Road Department, and our Engineering Department managed to get done during a shutdown that Dana had this summer. So that's what it amounts to. It's always good to annex property into the city. Only happens to be that this is a roadway and not actual property, but it does connect to property within the city.
Thank you, sir. Any comments or questions on this annexation? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Pruitt,
Aye.
Commissioner Witt, Commissioner Vowles,
Aye.
Commissioner Thomas,
Aye.
Mayor Staten.
Aye. Next up, we have an ordinance amending budgeted positions.
Ordinance number 43-24, ordinance amending portion of City of Henderson fiscal year 2025 budget. Ordinance amending City of Henderson budgeted positions and job classifications of the fiscal year 2025 budget for certain non-hazardous positions in the administration department.
Before we get a motion, I believe Dylan wants to say a few words about this.
Yeah, I'll just give you all a brief background on what it is we're proposing. So our current community development specialist is retiring next year. And so what we're proposing is instead of hiring another temporary community development specialist, which is what's currently in the budget, who would serve as that person's successor, we're actually recommending hiring a second project coordinator. Is the intent that this project coordinator would assume all of the responsibilities that the community development specialist currently has, but they would also take on the added duties of coordinating and executing the intercity improvement plan. So there would be added duties there, and that's why we're requesting the change. This would include coordinating with a lot of outside agencies and also picking up, there's several projects that were recommended during the last round that we've kind of struggled with how to implement. This person will be responsible for carrying those forward, as well as all the new projects that will come out this year, as well as following years. So we feel like we need a person who can push those things forward.
I think it's important to say that once our person retires as community
Correct.
specialist, we will not fill that position. So it ends up, we're going to be net zero.
Good deal. Can I have a motion to approve, please, before we entertain any
So
questions?
moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Do we have any comments or questions? No, I think you did a good job explaining it. So
Thank
we're looking at adding a position. However, it's for the express intent of replacing a position once that position retires, with just a little bit of added duties onto it as well, right?
Mhm.
Good deal. Thank you, sir. We have roll call, please.
Commissioner Pruitt,
Aye.
Commissioner Witt, Commissioner Vowles?
Aye.
Commissioner Thomas?
Aye.
Mayor Staten?
Aye.
Oh,
Oh, you got it right.
I did. Shocked myself.
We have a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute consent.
Resolution number 53-24, resolution authorizing mayor to execute consent to annexation for real estate located at 8221 Green River Road or parcel ID number 64-12.
We have a motion to approve, please.
So moved.
We have a second? A motion and a second. Are there any comments or questions?
For clarification, this is property we actually acquired a couple months back. It is adjacent to a current property that we own, Green River Road and Stratman Road. Bringing that tract of land in to be consolidated with our current property.
All right. And further clarification is this doesn't actually formally annex it. It gives me the ability to execute the annexation once we are capable of doing so. They changed the rules on annexation, which requires that anytime we annex a property like this into the city, that we give a 45-day notice to the county before that is executable. And so that is why after we vote on this one, we'll have another one on there. It looks like deja vu, but that municipal order gives the notice to the county, and then it starts that clock. So anybody else have any questions or concerns? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Pruitt?
Aye.
Commissioner Witt?
Aye.
Commissioner Vowles? Commissioner Thomas?
Aye.
Mayor Staten?
Aye. As stated, we have a municipal order giving notice of annexation.
Municipal order number 76-24, municipal order giving notice to the Henderson County Fiscal Court of the City of Henderson's intent to annex property contiguous to the current city limits with the address of 8221 Green River Road, parcel ID number 64-12.
Motion to approve, please.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Pruitt?
Aye.
Commissioner Witt?
Aye.
Commissioner Vowles? Commissioner Thomas?
Aye.
Mayor Staten?
Aye. And we have quite a few items on the city manager's report for today.
First of all, I would ask that Chelsea come to the podium and present her good news.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Every year, the Finance Department submits our annual budget document that we go over in the May-June timeframe for the GFOA Budget Award. And we just heard back last week that the City of Henderson has been awarded the Distinguished Budget Presentation Award for our 2025 budget. And so this is our 16th year that we've received this award, so I'm looking forward to continuing that tradition. And I also want to thank Buzzy and all the department heads, just how smooth it went for my first time for this budget season. So thank you all.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
No, seriously, that is, you had some big shoes to fill. You had some big shoes to fill, and you have stepped right in and kept that tradition going, and we very much appreciate all your hard work and efforts.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
One thing while you're up here. I want to say it's been a real pleasure working with Chelsea, and we have a lot of good things I think that she will be bringing forward in the near future that will better pave the way for our future welfare of the city and have a well-laid, defined plan of special projects that we all have interest in, and most of all, how we financially pay for them. So at the end of my report, I will discuss a future workshop that she will be handling to lay out that plan. So she's been a real pleasure to have here, and it's like she's been here forever. So
All right, thank you. I
done very
appreciate
well.
it.
Good deal. Next up on the city manager's report.
Dylan, if you don't mind to come up and just give us a brief update on what you're thinking.
Yeah, and I see if IT, they've got a presentation up there for me. Okay, perfect. You got it. Yep, that's it. Thank you. All right, so as Buzzy just mentioned, next month we plan to have a work session where we're going to talk a lot about bond reserves, and we'll also be talking about future projects, everything we have kind of coming down the line. And this is just a concept that we want to throw out there that's kind of a precursor to that conversation. It's something that has kind of come up during the construction of the sports complex, and we just wanted to bring it to y'all's attention in lieu of that conversation we're going to have next month, or in light of that conversation we'll have next month. And so just to make it clear, we're not necessarily asking for a decision on this today. We just wanted to present this as a potential option as we move forward with the sports complex. So as you'll see in front of you, here's a layout of our master plan for the entire sports complex as it exists today. So this quad here is complete. It serves boys baseball 10 and under, as well as girls softball of any age. We also have this field, which is complete. It's there's been a rumor, actually, it came up twice yesterday in 30 minutes, so I'm going to dispel this rumor. There was a rumor that we had built that football field at 80 yards long, so it couldn't be used by high school football or soccer. I had Mark Simmons go out this morning and confirm that it is, in fact, a 100-yard football field, which I knew it was.
Wait. 120-yard football field, right?
Well, yes, it's 360 feet long from
right.
inline to from back end zone to end zone. But yes,
Just wanted to make sure.
yeah, yes,
Okay.
it is the proper length. Let me just say that it is the proper length. So, yeah, he agreed a few times. So these are the 5 main fields that have been constructed. And then, so just talking about the future a little bit, this quad here was meant to serve 11 and 12-year-olds. These were a little bit larger field. And then this field in the back was essentially a full-size high school baseball field, and it was intended to serve 13 and older. So, that will go to the next slide. A few months back, just as a reminder, as we were adding some different things to the first phase of the sports complex, we actually, this commission voted to approve adding these 2 additional fields right here. So this is the turf field, and then you all voted to approve these as 2 additional grass fields. So here you can see on this drawing, these are those same 2 fields. This is the one that's complete. These 2 fields, as they currently exist, are separated by a ditch. And this field is actually a few feet higher, about 2 or 3 feet higher than this field in the middle there. So as it stands in the current contract, the commission has approved sodding and irrigation for those 2 fields on the right. However, due to a number of factors, construction, and also this has been a terrible season for growing sod. I don't know if you all are familiar, but the high school tried to plant sod with their soccer field, and they ran into issues as well. So for a number of reasons, that sod and irrigation on our project has not been completed yet. And so before we spent what comes out to be about $300,000 in sod and irrigation on these 2 fields, we wanted to run a concept by you all that has kind of popped up here in recent months. And so, in short, basically, before we spend that $300,000, we wanted to run this concept by you all of making that one large turf area. And the reason for that, I'll go over here in just a second. So in this image, you'll see the concept that's being proposed for consideration. So in short, the concept removes the 2 grass fields, combines this into one large turfed area that can be configured for a number of purposes. So in addition to just the normal benefits of artificial turf, which you all are aware of, we've talked about them many times when we've upgraded our other fields, which includes additional play, less maintenance, those sort of things. This concept would actually allow for additional functionality that we don't currently have, at least what we don't have with what's already been constructed. So the benefit of having this one large area that's all turf is that it actually offers additional functionality that we wouldn't get if it were just individual from a baseball and softball perspective. So as you can see in the upper left corner and the bottom right corner, there is a baseball diamond in each of those corners. And so by doing so, you can actually configure that to where you can have 2 additional baseball fields for varying ages, and even offer baseball for ages that we can't currently accommodate with the 200-foot fields that we have out there now. So here, and this is going to be really hard to see, especially with the colors, but basically there's 4 options for how we could configure this. So you could only do one of the 4 at a time, but due to some of the products on the market, within a couple hours you could reconfigure it from one to the other. So basically the first and most obvious option would be to have 2 full-size soccer fields. So full-size high school soccer fields, that could be option number 1. A second option would be to have 2 additional 200-foot fields. That's what our current quad is. So essentially now you could have 6 200-foot fields. That's actually how many PCMA uses now. Their fields are a little bit smaller, but at their current facility they have 6 fields. The other option, and this is where the functionality really becomes kind of a benefit, is we could actually fit 2 of the larger size fields, which are 250 down the center, 225 down the foul line, which would actually serve 11 and 12-year-olds. So with the fields that we have out there now that are already constructed, we can't serve 11 and 12-year-olds. If we did this, we could actually have it set up to where we could have 2 fields that would serve 11 and 12-year-olds. And then the last configuration would be actually placing 1 large ball diamond in the lower right corner, which would actually serve baseball of any age. That would be a full-size high school baseball field that could serve 13 and older. So once again, you can only have one of these configurations at a time, but it allows you additional functionality that we don't have currently and that we wouldn't have until these other phases were complete. So the key to this, though, is to lay it out like that in advance. So what you see here is, what you see here is an example of a complex that really brings a whole new level to the meaning of multi-purpose field. This sports complex is in Panama City in Florida. I actually stumbled across this when I was on vacation a couple years ago. And the company who has been consulting with us on our operations, they actually operate this sports complex. So they're very familiar with the concept, and they have told us that they would be very supportive of us going in that direction. It allows for a lot of extra functionality and to adapt to the needs of the community, as well as to potential tournaments that want to come in and use our facility. And a lot of your newer facilities are going towards this. So you can kind of see, these are soccer fields that have the temporary fencing. They have the ball diamonds in the corner. This is a full-size baseball field, that's then got the soccer field on the infield. So these are becoming more and more popular, as you can imagine. Why? Because it allows for that additional functionality. So one of the key factors to making this concept work is the outfield fencing. So the sideline fencing in this sort of concept would be permanent. So the fencing that would perimeter the soccer fields and the baseball fields, it would remain permanent. It's the outfield fencing that would be temporary and that could move. So in here are some pictures of the type of fencing that could be used on the larger field for older kids. So I'm sure you all have been, if you've ever been to a sports facility, you've seen some of that really short temporary fencing. That stuff's okay for like the 200-foot fields and maybe even the 250 fields, but you don't want high school kids at 350, 375 trying to catch a ball running into that stuff. So this is actually a product we found, and I'll show you an estimate here in a minute, but that's included. So you could actually have a couple people install that, take it down, within 2 to 3 hours. So if you wanted to play one field, maybe you wouldn't play multiple configurations in the same night, but if you wanted to do one configuration one night and then another configuration the next night, it would definitely be possible with this product. So here's the big thing, and I apologize if those numbers are hard to see. I should have probably printed it out. But I've broken down this estimate into 2 sections, and I'll go through it, at least the big numbers, so that you all can see that. The first part of this estimate is just the cost to take the 2 existing fields and upgrade it to turf, right? So that, and then the second part of that investment, so the first part is about $2 million, and then the second part is $1.5 million. That is the additional cost to actually accommodate the additional baseball and softball needs. So the second part would include things like your dugouts, your backstops, your fencing, that sort of thing. The first part of the estimate would include things like your artificial turf, your curb, that sort of thing, things that you're going to need regardless. So the numbers in red, which you can see here, that's money that we would need to spend if we proceed with the grass fields as included in the current contract, and that's primarily sod and irrigation. However, if we switch to turf, these would be a savings, so that's why they're shown here as a deduction from the overall project cost. So as I mentioned earlier, we're giving this information, y'all. We're not asking for a decision tonight. We just want to propose this to you all, and the reason is because before we spend an additional $300,000 on these grass fields, we wanted to pause and bring this concept to you. I'd kind of come across this a couple months ago or a few months ago, and I'd kind of talked in passing to the city manager and the mayor about it, and or the mayor more recently, and they had kind of said they were interested in it and just that maybe I should pursue it further and see if we could get some numbers. And so that's ultimately the purpose of this, is just to provide this to you all to see what your all's, initial reaction is. Because my whole thing is if we think that this is a possibility in the future, so everything else when we started this project, I don't think we knew that we were going to go all turf. So if we do the sod and irrigation, this would be the one part of the project that has that. That means specialized equipment, specialized chemicals, different types of maintenance. Whereas if we go with turf, we don't have to buy like new equipment. Whereas if we go with the sod, we're probably going to have to buy like a fairway mower and a reel mower, and those are expensive pieces of equipment. If we want to go that route, we certainly can. But if we think there's any chance that we would want to go this route in the near future, we didn't want to spend money on the sod and irrigation and the under drains and then have to tear that out in the near future. So, and the other thing I'll say is, even if we decided, we don't know if we want to do it or not, but we don't want to commit to the sod and irrigation, that's an option too, because the fields will still be graded, they'll still be seeded, they'll still be usable once they've grown in. It's just, they won't be Bermuda sod with irrigation and that sort of thing. And so that's ultimately the reason for us bringing this to you all is we just, with the way the construction season has gone and with the way that we've had a drought and hot weather, the sod didn't work out to install this summer anyway. So we just wanted to give you all the opportunity to present this concept to see if it was something you all were interested in. And like I said, we're not looking for a decision today, but just to kind of foreshadow the conversation that we're going to have next month when we talk about all the stuff that's coming down the pipeline with this, future phases of the sports complex being a big part of it. So with that, I'll stop talking and let y'all ask questions or make any comments that you may have.
Well, Dylan, can you give me just a rough estimate? We started off at $15 million. Where are we at now?
So it's a good question. So the way I've been doing it is, I think we're still at about 18, 19, and I should have brought that with me. But so the thing that I've done from the beginning is when we first had it, we started out at X, and then we had all these options. And so I've always shown, I have a lot of funds that we're anticipating spending that we've not necessarily spent yet. So like an example, the press box bid is opening tomorrow. And so we haven't spent that money yet, but it's included in that 18, 19 million. So I still think that's kind of where we are. Now, we haven't spent all that because I've got a lot of money that you all have said you want to do, and we just haven't been able to procure them yet. And that's why I'm happy to have Jen on board, because she's going to help me get some of those projects up and running. So,
And then that's the gross total, right?
correct, yeah.
And so I think where you're getting that 15, 16 number at is the county gave us, what, 1.25, and then we get
Yes.
sponsorship dollars and stuff like that. And so that's offset $2 to $3 million, if I'm not mistaken. of
Yeah,
that
and I'd have
cost.
to pull it out and give you. I know Chelsea and I have talked really closely about that and have looked at that. I've got a spreadsheet that breaks it down and says, what the total amount we've planned to expend is, and then those others are shown as credits to actually show how much we expended ourselves. So.
Well, I think what's important to know, two things to tie all this together, our meeting in October, not only to talk about this, but fire station, convention center, road projects, et cetera. We need to paint a picture of what we're looking at, prioritize it, then begin the process. How do you fund it? That's the intent for the October work session. Okay, so with that being said, I also want to bring up what he's brought up today is that I will tell y'all that at some point in time, we do our master park plan, you're going to find out that the condition of Park Field, of all the ball fields up there, Flash Field is in the best condition. But I think you heard a comment made that probably the light poles and lights are going to have to be changed out at some point in time. Now, I will say probably much sooner than what we want. The other problem is the other ball fields have the same condition. And one thing we've always all said is, we're going to have youth sports, let's put them all in one location. What he's proposed today would take the youth baseball away from Park Field, put it at the new sports complex, and we move on. But the way he's got it proposed, it can be used for whatever you want it to use for. It's just whoever's managing the complex will handle that side of it. So when you put all this together, you're gonna have to remember over here to the side that if we don't move Parkfield, how much we're gonna have to spend there to keep the doors open.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
I'll stop
I'm
there.
glad you brought that up.
Can you run 11, 12-year-old league and a soccer league on those same fields
Yeah.
if their schedules are the same?
We would have to both your all's points, we would have to look at the schedule. I'm not as intimately familiar with what nights and what seasons. I know more about soccer than I do baseball. It would definitely get us a step closer. Whether we would be able to 100% with this concept go away or not, we would have to explore, but it would definitely get us a step closer and would prevent us from having to spend extra. Because I think long term, Flash Field is a great facility. I think we intend to upkeep that facility. The other fields over there, I don't think we necessarily do. And maybe one of the others, I don't know what the plans are long term, but even if this doesn't get us completely away, it definitely is a step closer. But we would, to answer that question, I'd have to look at the league schedules and stuff. And the other thing that I do want to mention is, so I'm going to go back to the first one, because this is a point we often kind of forget to discuss. But this quad right here, right now, is just, well, right now it's still dirt, but because this is where they've had all their excess dirt piled. But we fully anticipate that when this project is done, so this fall, within the next couple weeks, they'll have all this graded out. They'll put a crown down the middle, slope it both ways, and then they'll seed it. So you look at this for scale in comparison to these three fields, you've got basically the equivalent of 3 full-size soccer fields that you can fit in this area that will be practice fields, game fields, whatever you want to call them. And they're not going to be sodded, but they're going to be seeded and shod, and they're going to be to a level that can be played on by these other organizations. Because I know there's been a huge need for. So to your point, I guess, you've got this space now, which football and soccer can use, but then you've got this space over here, which soccer can use, and then you've got this space back here, which soccer can use as well. So there is extra space out there. Now, I wouldn't suggest baseball using this because we don't have any of the backstops or any of that, but we could move some of those groups over there in the interim while that has not been programmed or built yet. And it's also hard to say, let's just be honest, some of our facilities right now are not in the best shape, and there's an argument that could impact numbers, because some of these leagues right now have low numbers. And so when we move out to this facility, who's to say that numbers won't be a lot more? And that's kind of what we hope for, right?
Right.
And that's its own problem, but that's one thing an unknown factor we don't know either.
So conceivably, if we did that, phase 2 might come into existence for a long time, but we might not need it.
Well, and that's so let's say you do to Buzzy and your point, maybe we do this concept, and in order to get, it's my understanding, in order to get everything off Parkfield now, you need at least a medium-sized field and you need at least a large field. So, if you did both of these at turf, I'm not even going to gander a guess at how much that would be, but it would be a lot more expensive than we're talking about. Maybe if you did that, maybe your next phase, you just had to build one extra field, and maybe that would be enough. So that's something we could figure out depending on demand, but I definitely think it's a step in that direction and helps us with our end goal to get youth sports away from that facility.
So the immediate question is, should we proceed with sodding and grading these $300,000, or should we save that money and potentially use it on turf in the future? When would that decision be?
So
That'd
you all
come pretty quickly.
Yeah, so it would be up to you all. So I'll be honest. So with sod, we've kind of missed our window. We've kind of missed our window for a few reasons. Honestly, it might not have been the worst thing in the world that we didn't lay sod this summer, because, as I mentioned earlier, the school has really struggled to the point where they had to use Newman Park because their sod. They did everything right, it's been a very dry, hot summer. And so that has been an issue, and we've had some issue, with adding everything and different things. So if this were a direction you all were going to go, our contractor has to regrade it anyway, the current field, because there's some grading issues that they have to regrade it anyway. So as part of the current contract, they owe us to regrade it and to reseed it. If you all had any thought of going in this direction, I would say let's just do that. Let's just let them regrade it, seed it, and walk away from it. And then if we wanted to see what the cost of this would be, we could bid it out this fall, get pricing back, start it in the spring, have it ready to go, mid-spring. And if we don't like the pricing and we're not satisfied with the quality of fields with the way they are with just the seeding and the grading, then we could go back and do the sodding and the irrigation at that point. So I really think from a timing perspective, it's going to be the same timing regardless of which choice we choose. But you could also easily say, well, we can't afford this right now. It's not our priority. We want to get the fire station done. And I know that's, we're talking about future commissions, but we could put that in, we could do it down the road. It's just the idea of, do we want to invest that $300,000 and potentially undo our work? So,
Yeah, for me, that's an easy decision. Let's not spend $300,000, at least until we have a
Yeah, at least till
solid
we
quote
find
on the
out,
turf.
find out what it's gonna take to upgrade Park Field.
In the October work session, I think it would also be nice if we had some hard numbers as to what the rehabilitation cost would have been on the fields.
okay.
And that way we know we're offsetting $300,000 worth of sodding and grading or whatever here, and then we're offsetting that much money on money we would have spent to maintain those
Yeah.
to go to these fields, because that on a net basis, that matters in our
Yeah.
decision, so.
And I think one thing I didn't even factor in maintenance costs. So I mentioned it a little bit, but like if we bought, I've been told that if we're going to have the level of sod fields that we had planned for, you would need like a fairway or a reel mower. A new one of those easily costs $60,000, $70,000. You start talking about, with Bermuda, turns brown in the wintertime, so you got overseed with rye, you got chemical applications. There's a lot of, I didn't even put a number to those, but I certainly could do that as well if we needed to. So, but that's another savings. It's more on the maintenance side.
Well, when you first discussed this with me, I was a big fan of the concept, enough so that I wanted all of us to take a look at it, just because anytime you can get that amount of utility out of that space, because now we're talking about an area that would have been 2 grass soccer fields or multi-purpose fields, and now they can be two multi-purpose fields that also house different shaped diamonds, different distance diamonds. It really provides a whole lot more flexibility to the facility, and on a per square footage basis, at more of a favorable rate than what we paid for our other fields. And so I like the fact that you brought this to us to take a look at.
Dylan, the ditch that separates those two,
Yes.
was the price that you had up on those numbers, was that, fill that in and come
Yeah,
across?
it
Okay.
was, sir. Yeah. So this first line dirt work to level 2 fields is yeah. And I'm not entirely sure why the original design called for it to be kind of plateaued, and we kind of debated on the final grade. But yeah, that first number includes leveling those two, and then we have some additional basin excavation which would help. The drainage on those turf fields is different than if it were just grass. So we've tried to accommodate for as much of that as we can.
Could we do 2 softball fields on there also?
You could. So the softball would be either 200 or all of the 4 fields that we have now currently are 200 foot, and they're built as softball fields. So basically, we'll have the portable mounds for baseball. We actually already have them. So that's basically will be the only difference, and then the base
What's
lengths.
Newman Field?
What's that?
What's Newman Field? What's their dimensions?
Theirs was originally longer, and then they cut it down, maybe like 230, and then maybe now there's a 210. I know the one over by the middle school is 200 feet. I measured a lot of them, and I think they can range anywhere from like 200 to 225.
You could have 2 going the same
Yes,
time.
yeah. So it would be this configuration right here. It's hard to see, but the green or blue line, whatever color that is, those are the 200 foot
Okay.
fields.
Easily.
Yeah, and I tried to put something else in these 2 corners, but all you could get was like 130. So you could play like t-ball, but that's like all you could do. And if you're for t-ball, you just put out the bases.
grass,
and-
yeah.
yeah. So
Building 2 fields.
Those are use
David,
fields.
It's nice,
Yeah.
isn't it? Yeah.
well, and it just from a tournament director's perspective, I mean, like I said, PCMA currently has 6. They were going to make do with 4, but having 2 extra would help them. And tournament director having 2 additional fields would be good. Whereas now they couldn't use those 2 soccer fields. So
And it's correct that we can do all different distances with those fields.
yeah,
right?
so the way I would set it up is this is what I would recommend. So I got a quote from a company that does this fencing. So I would recommend that we use this fencing for the high school field. So what we would do is this is our layout, we would have the contractor install foundations in this lane for that field. For these other two fields that are shorter, we could do the same thing, and actually my quote includes using that higher level fencing at this. I think it's just, that fencing is gonna be a lot more, I think they said 2 to 3 people, 2 to 3 hours to take it up or take it down or put it up. I think that shorter 3-foot fencing is probably appropriate for youth, but we could use either or, and I think actually my estimate includes using the better fencing at that medium rate, but the shorter rate, I included the shorter fencing, because that's, when I go to all these other facilities, that's what I see at 200 feet is just the small stuff. And you don't want too many, that fencing requires the insert, so you don't want inserts at 200 radius, 250 radius, and 300, so I tried to minimize it. But that's all up for discussion, and we would consult with our operator to figure out what's best.
Any other questions? Well, thank you for bringing
All right.
this to us, and I'm sure we'll revisit it in the middle of October at our work session.
Sounds good. Thank you all.
All right, the last item I have, to discuss our future meeting dates. We must have a meeting next Tuesday due to our anticipated bond issuance. We also will have several items, second reads for the meeting, tax, and be a few other things that we'll bring to you next week. We're going to have the meeting at the end of September. If y'all remember, there's a good deal of us aren't going to be here due to KLC being that week. So fast forward into October, our first meeting is October the 8th, which is fall break week. And wanted to poll y'all to see the availability if we're going to have enough to have a meeting attendance. So if you can let us know, but that's got a question mark, and we can plan appropriately to work around if we don't have a meeting date. And we did mention on October the 15th, we'll have a work session to over all this. I anticipate that work session probably lasting a minimum of an hour, but no more than an hour and a half. And then we will have our regular meeting scheduled for October 22nd. Okay. Then, if you fast forward into November, we'll probably have just one meeting, unless we need a second meeting, I think would fall the week of Thanksgiving. I think that's just looking out. So if you have any comments, concerns, questions, feel free to let me know.
So we're going to have a work session on the 15th anyway?
Of October?
Yeah.
I think we need to.
What if we targeted having a special call on the 15th, since we're all going to be together, and dispensing with the October 8th meeting on fall break? Is that
That's-
okay with everybody?
We don't. That's what we'll do.
Okay. In December, the first meeting in December is going to be, I believe, is going to be at the MSC building instead of here. So if you can kind of mark your calendars at
When was that?
the first meeting in December.
Okay.
Oh, my goodness. There you go.
Well, we're working with IT currently to get the room set up to provide social media and coverage for that. And it's not a bad thing that's taking place.
Good deal. We do have need for executive session. There's not going to be any action taken after the meeting. Is that correct? That is correct. It should be very short. Before we go into executive session, though, I want to give the commissioners a chance to do the commissioners' comments. Commissioner Pruitt,
Nothing,
Commissioner Witt,
Nothing today.
Commissioner Vowles, Commissioner Thomas,
Been today.
and I have nothing, and we have need for executive session, please, sir.
I move that the commission go into executive session pursuant to KR 1 subsection F for discussion that might lead to the discipline or dismissal of an individual employee.
Do we have a second?
second,
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Pruitt,
aye.
Commissioner Witt,
Aye.
Commissioner Vowles, Commissioner Thomas.
Aye.
Mayor State.
Hi. And we are going to stay in here for our executive session, and like I mentioned, we're not coming back with any action after the meeting.
Megan, I would ask you and Chelsea and Dylan to stay behind.
Hey, Dylan, are we good?
Hey, you all just